Rachel Warner.
I'm Lubika Rawood. For more information on the work that we do and how you can help us to help others, please visit our website www.secondchances.org.za.
In Junior Achievement South Africa, its focus is really to expose youngsters within high school and out of school to entrepreneurial thinking, and ours is focused at high school from grade 10 to 12.
I'm very big on youth empowerment and making a difference and touching lives and impacting the lives of our young people. That's practically what I do with my foundation as well, and ever since I was crowned as Miss SA.
The goal of the magazine is to basically share information that will be able to assist small business owners.
You're listening to The Social Show with Viwet Yolwana
And Lubika Rawood, live on brandlive.co.za.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to The Social Show with myself, Uveno Ulipika. I know Ulipika.
That is my name. That's actually what it says on my ID.
There's
Believe
a
it or
U
not.
in front of your L.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, as per usual, we're going to start the show off with the news.
In an attempt to promote science and technology subjects within high school, Ulula Ash partnered with the Eskom Creel Power Station to hand over mobile science laboratories to two Mpumalanga schools recently. Now, the Sibonga Mandla Secondary and Creel High Schools received the high-tech science labs as a result of not having the funds to install one of their own. Now, the labs contains both technology and science equipment that can be used to conduct experiments that are covered in the high school syllabus. The labs will be used by pupils in grade 8, 10, or rather grade 9, 10 and 11, and it will reportedly provide them with practical interactive demonstrations and test their revision to prepare them for future examinations. Graduating pupils at both schools will also be able to apply for learnerships at both companies in the future. In other news, a filling station worker has turned a small plot of unused land at the engine into a garden, producing veggies that feed the staff and local community. Now, Blessing Pondani, originally from Malawi and now based in Greenwood Park in Durban, started working at the Engine River Horse Valley Convenience Center when the filling station opened its doors in May last year. And he started off as a general cleaner until one day he inspected the land around the filling station. And he told his boss that there was fertile land and that he should use it to grow veggies. And now his boss Senzo Mfeka liked the idea so much that the next day he returned with spinach seedlings. The man with green fingers started the process of growing the spinach, and the boss bought fertilizer, and then they took the small plants that were starting to grow and transferred them to the ground, and a month and 3 weeks later they had their first bunch. Now Pondani, who now juggles his day between cleaning and the garden, said when the spinach is ready he harvests it and gives it to his colleagues. Now they've also had so many requests to sell the spinach, but they are not allowed to. His boss takes the spinach and he gives it to disabled people around his community. He has also added carrots and plans on adding tomatoes to his garden.
The Bertha Center for Social Innovation and Entrepreneurship has benchmarked in the top 5 globally for social impact in a new report from Bridgespan Group. Now, social impact education has entered the mainstream, and the UCT Graduate School of Business is among a handful of global leaders in the field, according to a new report by Bridgespan. Now, the Bertha Center, which was established in 2011, is a relative newcomer to the scene and has celebrated its 5th year anniversary at the end of 2016. By comparison, Harvard's Social Enterprise Initiative is 20 years old, and the Bertha Center is also the only center in an emerging economy to be featured in the report. Now, Dr. Francois Bonici, director of Bertha Center, said, "We are the first academic center of its kind in Africa, and our center was established in partnership with the Bertha Foundation, a family foundation that works with inspiring leaders who are catalysts for social change and economic change and human rights." Now, the GSB is benchmarked alongside business school heavyweights, including the Center of Advancement of Social Entrepreneurship at Duke University's Fuqua School of Business, the Social Enterprise Initiative at Harvard Business School, the Center of Social Innovation at Stanford's Graduate School of Business, and the School Center of Social Entrepreneurship at the University of Oxford's said business school. Now, in addition to its analysis of the 5 leading social impact centers, the Bridgespan report includes a broad landscape scan of more than 60 programs within business schools and across universities worldwide. Now, there has been a rapid growth in social impact initiatives at the business schools within the last decade. And in other news, the funeral of former Springbok scrum-half US Van der Westhuizen will be held at 12:30 on Friday, February 10 at Loftus Versfield in Pretoria. Van der Westhuizen, 45, passed away after losing his battle with motor neuron disease, MND, after he was initially rushed to hospital in a critical condition on Saturday. Now, despite stabilizing and showing signs of acknowledging those around him, he passed away on Monday afternoon. His J-Noun Foundation confirmed details regarding the funeral on social media. And that's our news wrap up for the day.
Have you ever thought about the power of social media? Social media has the power to make your business grow. Grow! Yeah. Why don't you let us manage your social media? Because our business is to see your business grow. Visit us at www.bstownmedia.co.za.
Okay, now I'm not sure if many of you have found out or have heard the news about what's happening in Russia. Okay, now it's it's something that's very sad. And if, everything goes according to certain people's ideas or plans, then it would just mean overall destruction. Now, what I'm talking about is a bill that will decriminalize some forms of domestic violence. Now, this bill has been passed. Its first reading in Russia's Duma, sparking anger, obviously, among women's rights advocates.
Of course.
Now, this legislation, Viwe, and this is a sad thing, okay, about the bill.
Yeah.
The legislation would define first assaults which cause less serious injuries as administrative rather than criminal offenses.
Yeah.
So if I'm just going to punch someone and they have a blue eye, I'll get away with a fine, nothing more.
Wow.
I won't. You won't be able to call the police to arrest the abuser.
It'll just you'll just get a fine like it's a traffic ticket.
Yep. So,
That's very horrible.
It is really.
And if you think about Russia as a country, I know we were talking about this before when we were sort of reading the story. Russia's it has such a violent past. If you think about Stalin, if you think about, the wars that have happened, if you think about the, it being the Cold War, it being a really major, threat to capitalism and it has just such a very dark cloud on it, which I think in the recent years they've been trying to really make it a little bit less aggressive as a country. And then you hear this and you're just like, okay, nothing's really changing. And it just sort of speaks to the sort of ethos of the country, I think. And it's really sad to hear that any type of violence, whether it's to women or to men, any type of domestic violence can be excused or condoned on any level. I think that's a new level of intolerance, and that's a new level of just like really not caring about human rights. It's a human rights issue, and I think Russia's got it really wrong. I don't agree with this new law. I don't even understand who came up with it.
Exactly. I also, I feel like, what does this mean for the victims of abuse then?
Yeah.
Because obviously, as much as sometimes the policemen are corrupt and that kind of thing, there's still a bit of trust and hope that we have in policemen and in people in higher places. You have a level of trust. So if something happens, okay, I'll go to the cops, I'll go to the police station, I'll be safe there.
He'll be locked away.
Yes, but now that's not going to happen, and he'll only be locked away if your ribs are broken or whatever. But they said if you can still go to work the next day, then it's not considered a serious injury.
No, but if you think about the progression of violence, especially domestic violence, is that it never starts off hectic. It always starts off with a slap, a push, a knee. And then when somebody gets so used to no repercussions or no consequences to their act, it gets worse. And that's what happened. And usually it's blamed on the victim because the victim won't speak up. The victim will be like, oh, he just slapped me once, he was mad, whatever. But now the fact that we've taken away the fact that even if a first time offense happens, we're not dealing with the actual problem of this man or this woman doesn't know how to deal with their anger in a healthy way, in a way that doesn't infringe the safety of the people around them. And what happens if it's a kid? What happens if it's someone a disabled person? What happens if it's someone that's blind? There's so many layers to domestic violence that I think this amendment doesn't cover. And the only time it will get any kind of law against it is when you're accorded to dead. And what's the point? You might as well just say you guys can kill anyone and you won't go to prison.
Exactly. And it's sad because over 300 members of parliament voted for this.
This is horrible.
And one person voted against. So obviously they're going to say majority rules, but we don't know. We're obviously going to read up more and follow the story because it causes heated debates. And I just feel like there are many reports about Russia, and you mentioned it now earlier on in the show, where Russia is basically known for having lots of violence. And I read that there's a lot of domestic violence already, happening in Russia. And I feel like this is definitely going to spark it, and increase it rapidly. Because if you, for instance, Viwe, abuse me, for example, okay?
Because I do that every day.
And I have like a blue mark on my legs or on my arm, right? And I think I can go to the police. You're going to find that out and you're going to get angry. You're going to get angrier with me because you're like, oh, so you think you can go to the police? No one's going to help you.
It gets worse. It's like putting gasoline to a fire, really. And when you think about it, now what you're basically saying is that if you're going to give me a fine for me hitting somebody, you're saying people with money can hit.
Yeah.
Because if you can pay for that fine, I don't care even if it's like 500,000 or if I can pay for that fine, I'm going to hit you because I know I'm not going to go to jail. So that's kind of the idea that they're perpetuating. And they're also just saying, you know what, violence is not that hectic. Violence is not anything that needs to be looked at in a serious way. But you know what I was thinking actually in the back of my mind was I can understand the concept of saying, okay, the jails are full. We're overcrowded in our jails. Now we're putting people in jail for no reason, or the reason isn't sufficient enough, or whatever the case may be. But then you can't. Then you come up with the solution of not saying you can't go to jail, but rather there's another rehabilitative center. People who beat or have aggressive behaviors go to. So you give us an alternative. You send them away from the people that they're hurting. But you can't just say, live in the same home, eat the same food, get the same punches, but only if he's going to kill you are we going to take him to jail, because we have a problem with how many people are in our jails and us taking people to jail for no reason. No, the issue is the fact that you aren't coming up with effective solutions to domestic violence abusers. Take them to some sort of ranch where they learn how to run when they're angry. You know what I mean? Have, as a country, come together to say we have to make sure that at least the victim and the perpetrator are separated, because then you're basically allowing people to kill people. That's just it.
And I actually really, really don't. I feel really strongly against this, obviously, because it's kind of close to home for me, And I just feel like a fine is not going to make people stop committing the crime, because if you look at how many people get traffic fines, people don't even care about a fine. If I know that if I steal from you or I rob your house or I hit you and all I'm going to get away with is a fine, I'm going to do it every single day. Nothing's going to stop me. I'm not afraid of a fine, and
you can dodge fines.
Exactly. Unless also they should have, I don't know if there are enough safe havens for victims of abuse.
And that's
because
another option.
That's the thing, because now, Vivi, you have to look at various households as well. If the husband is abusing the wife, some men or the wife is abusing the husband, sometimes they don't even bother with the kids, they don't hit the kids and that kind of thing. But what if the husband is abusing the wife or the wife is abusing the husband, right? And now the wife wants to run away, for example. What happens to that kid? You know, so we really, really need to look and try and analyze certain household situations. That is why I'm saying this bill should not be passed, because rather, instead of because the mother's going to end up running away, right? And then who knows if the kid is going to stay or if the kid is going to go
in that kind of situation.
Yeah, in that kind of situation, obviously. So rather take the abuser away.
That's what I'm
you
thinking.
know, take them to jail. But I don't know. I just see a lot of people. I just see that there's going to be a high increase in the number of domestic violence in Russia. And who knows, sometimes different countries adapt legislations. Who knows if other countries will also say, hey, let's also try and see if we can implement it into our country. So it may have a ripple effect, and people are going to die, and it's crazy. It's catastrophic.
It really is. And I think it's very important that we tell people, you know, if somebody is hurting you or not treating you well in your home right now, you have that option. And that's what's so amazing about the country that we live in. You know, sometimes it feels like, it's failing us and the system is just like against us, from police to health workers to, the departments to government. But, I can safely say, at least I know that in this country, if somebody hits you, if somebody hurts you, you have the right to go to any police station and get them arrested and get them out of your house and get them away from your kids or get them away from whoever they're hurting. So we have to be very grateful in the country that we live in, and we hope. I don't know what the ties are between South Africa and Russia. I know they aren't too opposite, but I'm just so glad that we have a constitution that we have. We are so strong in terms of our legislation, in terms of our political stances, and just in terms of the ethos of the country, the moral ethos of the country, that this would never really happen here. And I say that confidently. But anyway, if you have any comments about this story or have any more information or want to shed a little bit more light, please don't forget to just tell us on our social medias. We are here for you. Viveka.
Definitely. And that is why what I like is that we have the 16 days of activism. But we obviously saying that every day, it's actually 365 days of activism. And we have a lot of havens. There's a lot of NGOs that deal with and that helps people, get back on their feet. And we should always show our support to victims of abuse. Always. The same way we should always show our support to people who have cancer and everything else. We should always just be united as a country. And yes, there's a lot. We are not a perfect country. There's a lot of stuff going on that we don't agree with. But as people, as South Africans, we should just be together. And that is why the fight for 16 days of activism should not we should never forget to fight the fight with other people as well. And
other countries. I can imagine there's going to be so much a backlash in Russia right now.
Yes.
With people, like you said, there's a lot of people who are like, what on earth is going on? So I'm pretty sure that the people are going to speak, and I hope when they speak, they're going to be heard. And the most we can do is really to try and support them from where we are, where we stand, and stand in solidarity, just to say, you know what, we hear your pleas and we really hope this bill does not pass. And it's very sad that not a lot of people are talking about, and not a lot of people are really spreading their voices and really saying, you know what, we don't know what we're going to do when this happens. And it'd be quite interesting to find out how someone who is Russian or lives in Russia right now is sort of feeling about, now I'm also thinking, if you're a neighbor to somebody getting hurt, you can't call the police.
You can't. You can actually hear maybe something going on in the house.
Yeah.
You can't do anything.
You can't really do much because you really know it's going to go. And also, there's such a ripple effect on the community and how it reacts to violence. And I know Russia is, again, clouded with so much violence. You know, kids start drinking at like 16 there. You know, there's a lot of socioeconomic problems. There's a lot of political problems. People are not really that happy, and I'm just speaking on a very general sense. I'm not saying everyone isn't happy. I'm just saying the country doesn't really have a positive image in especially the media, because I haven't been there, so I can't really speak from being there. But this just sort of dampens that cloud, and it just says, you know what, there's no hope, and we need to make sure that we still raise more hope and more awareness around the fact that you cannot hurt somebody in any form or any way, and it is not recognized by the government. It is not recognized by the police. Then we're raising savages. That's what we're doing.
Agreed completely. So yes, please use the hashtags BrandLive and Social Show. It's very important for us to talk about, you know, topics like this. It's very important for us to voice our opinions on topics like this and say that, you know what, we're not going to keep quiet about this. This is wrong, and we're going to, you know, say something about it. And South Africa is a very vocal.
South Africa is a very local country. Really, Silvika?
Thanks, Viwe. We're very vocal, and that is what I love about it, especially with the Edgar's campaign. Everyone just immediately spoke, and I saw a lot of people on Twitter, you know, sharing and retweeting about this new Russian bill and how we feel about it. And you never know what your neighbor is going through, what your colleague is going through, because a lot of people are abused, but they don't speak up because they're afraid, you know, because maybe the guy is providing for them, or the woman is providing for them. So we should also look at that kind of things, and just, you know, let our neighbor or our partner or our sister or our colleague always know that, you know, you are there, not to judge them, but you are there, and they have a place to run to.
I completely agree with you. And just thinking about the psyche around people who hurt other people, they thrive on the fact that the other person won't say anything. That's why whoever gets hurt is usually quieter, more meek, a little bit more, you know, quiet, and seems a little bit weak. And when you take away the right for that person to actually lay a complaint, you basically taking away their voice. You're basically saying, whatever you say doesn't matter. Even if you say it, nothing's going to happen. So the issue of a value in people's lives is going to be really, really challenged with this new law. So we need to start really engaging, you know, more corporates on how they support initiatives that really give women and children and people who are vulnerable that value, that sense of value, to say, when you have a problem, you can speak about it and something will be done. There will be a consequence. You matter. You know, you actually matter. And I think that's what this is about. People actually must feel like they matter. And I feel like this new bill is basically saying,
we don't care. We don't care
just
about you.
Don't care.
And you know what? There's all sorts of abuse. It's not just physical abuse. You know, there's emotional abuse as well. I watched a documentary on the crime investigation channel. You know, that's my thing. And a lady got married to a guy who, now in the beginning they were very, very in love and that kind of thing. He told her no, he doesn't drink, because she met him online, right? So she obviously made it clear that she doesn't want someone who drinks and that kind of thing. But then, like a year into the marriage, he started drinking, and he just got wasted every single day, and he started abusing her emotionally. He started telling her she's fat and she's ugly and everything, and then he eventually killed her, he eventually shot her twice in the back, but she survived and she could tell a story. So there's a lot of, and she didn't speak up. Only when she got shot did she say something. So if you know someone who is, we are a free country, you know, and we can speak up and we can get people arrested who are abusing other people. So if you know of someone, encourage them not to be quiet, because it can only get worse from there.
Exactly. And I remember Sister Six did say that out of all of the women abused, only a half of them or quarter of them actually speak out and go to the police and get their perpetrators behind bars. And this just reminds me of the story of, which we'll probably tackle another day, of the Wits lecturer who just was caught, sexually harassing teachers. And this comes straight after 3 years ago when the same thing happened, but it was with the students. And I just feel like if there isn't any channel for people to speak, it will carry on for years. And that's what happened at Wits, and it's what's going to happen at Wits if there isn't a really, really good way of making sure that victims feel heard, feel like something is going to be done. They're not just going to speak and go back to the classroom and the same thing happens. Because as Libika said, if he knows that you went, or she knows that you went and told on him and there's no repercussion, you are in worse danger than before.
Definitely. But yes, please join the conversation and let us know what your thoughts are. It's #BrandLive, #Social Show, and it's at Social One TV on Twitter, at TV_CSI on Instagram, and Social TV on Facebook. And you'll hear from us tomorrow.
The Social Show is the only show that gives you updated content on all things CSI.
The show will interrogate and report on the latest initiatives that are supported, developed, and initiated by the public and private sector.
Hosted by myself, Viwe Cholwana,
And me, Libika Robert,
every week from 4 to 5 p.m. Hear it on brandlive.co.za.
See it on social-tv.co.za.
brandlive.co.za, harnessing the power of talk radio.